Ivan Dmitrich, do not start today. I've had a bad dream about you.
That's a lucky sign.
Where did you spend last night? Were you alone or with a fellow merchant? Did you see the other merchant this morning? What can we do now? So, you too suspect me? Perhaps, Semyonich, you have heard of that affair. Or maybe you have seen me before? Just you keep quiet, old man, and you shall get out too. If you blab, they'll flog the life out of me, but I will kill you first. What do you want? Go away, or I will call the guard. Makar Semyonich bent close over Askianov and whispered, Ivan Dmitrich. In the town of Vladimir lived a young merchant named Ivan Dmitrich Askianov. He had 2 shops and a house of his own. Askianov was a handsome, fair-haired, curly-headed fellow, full of fun and very fond of singing. When quite a young man, he had been given to drink and was riotous when he had had too much. But after he married, he gave up drinking, except now and then. One summer, Askianov was going to the Nizhny Fair, and as he bade goodbye to his family, his wife said to him, Ivan Dmitrich, do not start today. I've had a bad dream about you. Askianov laughed and said, You are afraid that when I get to the fair I shall go on a spree. His wife replied, I do not know what I am afraid of. All I know is that I had a bad dream. I dreamt you returned from the town, and when you took off your cap, I saw that your hair was quite grey. Askianov laughed. That's a lucky sign, said he. See if I don't sell out all my goods and bring you some presents from the fair. So he said goodbye to his family and drove away. When he had travelled halfway, he met a merchant whom he knew, and they put up at the same inn for the night. They had some tea together and then went to bed in adjoining rooms. It was not Askianov's habit to sleep late, and wishing to travel while it was still cool, he aroused his driver before dawn and told him to put in the horses. Then he made his way across to the landlord of the inn, who lived in a cottage at the back, paid his bill, and continued his journey. When he had gone about 25 miles, he stopped for the horses to be fed. Askianov rested a while in the passage of the inn and, ordering a samovar to be heated, got out his guitar and began to play. Suddenly, a troika drove up with tinkling bells and an official alighted, followed by 2 soldiers. He came to Askianov and began to question him, asking him who he was and whence he came. Askianov answered him fully and said, Won't you have some tea with me? But the official went on cross-questioning him and asking him, Where did you spend last night? Were you alone or with a fellow merchant? Did you see the other merchant this morning? Why did you leave the inn before dawn? Askianov wondered why he was asked all these questions, but he described all that had happened and then added, Why do you cross-question me as if I were a thief or a robber? I'm travelling on business of my own, and there is no need to question me. Then the official, calling the soldiers, said, I am the police officer of this district, and I question you because the merchant with whom you spent last night has been found with his throat cut. We must search your things. They entered the house. The soldier and the police officer unstrapped Askianov's luggage and searched it. Suddenly, the officer drew a knife out of a bag, crying, Whose knife is this? Askianov looked, and seeing a blood-stained knife taken from his bag, he was frightened. How is there blood on this knife? Askianov tried to answer, but could hardly utter a word, and only stammered, Don't know, not mine. Then the police officer said,
This morning the merchant was found in bed with his throat cut. You are the only person who could have done it. The house was locked from inside, and no one else was there. Here is this blood-stained knife in your bag, and your face and manner betray you. Tell me how you killed him and how much money you stole."
Askyonov swore he had not done it, that he had not seen the merchant after they had had tea together, that he had no money except 8,000 rubles of his own, and that the knife was not his. But his voice was broken, his face pale, and he trembled with fear, as though he were guilty. The police officer ordered the soldiers to bind Askyonov and put him in the cart. As they tied his feet together and flung him into the cart, Askyonov crossed himself and wept. His money and goods were taken from him, and he was sent to the nearest town and imprisoned there. Inquiries as to his character were made in Vladimir. The merchants and the other inhabitants of that town said that in former days he used to drink and waste his time, but that he was a good man. Then the trial came on. He was charged with murdering a merchant from Ryazan and robbing him of 20,000 rubles. His wife was in despair and did not know what to believe. Her children were all quite small. One was a baby at her breast. Taking them all with her, she went to the town where her husband was in jail. At first she was not allowed to see him, but after much begging, she obtained permission from the officials and was taken to him. When she saw her husband in prison dress and in chains, shut up with thieves and criminals, she fell down and did not come to her senses for a long time. Then she drew her children to her and sat down near him. She told him of things at home and asked what had happened to him. He told her all, and she asked, "What can we do now?" "We must petition the Tsar not to let an innocent man perish." His wife told him that she had sent a petition to the Tsar, but it had not been accepted. Askyonov did not reply, but only looked downcast. Then his wife said, "It was not for nothing I dreamt your hair had turned grey. You remember? You should not have started that day." And passing her fingers through his hair, she said, "Vanya, dearest, tell your wife the truth. Was it not you who did it?" "So, you too suspect me?" asked Askyonov, and hiding his face in his hands, he began to weep. Then a soldier came to say that the wife and children must go away, and Askyonov said goodbye to his family for the last time. When they were gone, Askyonov recalled what had been said, and when he remembered that his wife had also suspected him, he said to himself, "It seems that only God can know the truth. It is to Him alone we must appeal, and from Him alone expect mercy." And Askyonov wrote no more petitions, gave up all hope, and only prayed to God. Askyonov was condemned to be flogged and sent to the mines. So he was flogged with a knot, and when the wounds made by the knot were healed, he was driven to Siberia with other convicts. For 26 years, Askyonov lived as a convict in Siberia. His hair turned white as snow, and his beard grew long, thin, and grey. All his mirth went. He stooped. He walked slowly, spoke little, and never laughed. But he often prayed. In prison, Askyonov learned to make boots and earned a little money with which he bought The Lives of the Saints. He read this book when there was light enough in the prison, and on Sundays in the prison church he read the lessons and sang in the choir, for his voice was still good. The prison authorities liked Askyonov for his meekness, and his fellow prisoners respected him. They called him Grandfather and the Saint. When they wanted to petition the prison authorities about anything, they always made Askyonov their spokesman And when there were quarrels among the prisoners, they came to him to put things right and to judge the matter. No news reached Askionov from his home, and he did not even know if his wife and children were still alive. One day, a fresh gang of convicts came to the prison. In the evening, the old prisoners collected around the new ones and asked them what towns or villages they came from and what they were sentenced for. Among the rest, Askionov sat down near the newcomers and listened with downcast air to what was said. One of the new convicts, a tall, strong man of 60, with a closely cropped grey beard, was telling the others what he had been arrested for.
"Well, friends," he said, "I only took a horse that was tied to a sledge, and I was arrested and accused of stealing. I said I had only taken it to get home quicker, and then had let it go. Besides, the driver was a personal friend of mine. So I said, it's all right. No, they said, you stole it. But how or where I stole it they could not say. I once really did something wrong, and ought by rights to have come here long ago. By that time I was not found out. Now I have been sent here for nothing at all. But it's lies I'm telling you. I have been to Siberia before, but I did not stay long."
"Where are you from?" asked someone.
"From Vladimir. My family are of that town. My name is Makar, and they also call me Semyonich."
Askionov raised his head and said,
"Tell me, Semyonich, do you know anything of the merchants Askionov of Vladimir? Are they still alive?" "Know them? Of course I do. The Askionovs are rich, though their father is in Siberia, a sinner like ourselves, it seems. As for you, Grandad, how did you come here?"
Askionov did not like to speak of his misfortune. He only sighed and said, "For my sins, I have been in prison these 26 years.
"What sins?" asked Makar Semyonich.
But Askionov only said,
Well, I must have deserved it."
He would have said no more, but his companions told the newcomers how Askionov came to be in Siberia.
"Well, I must have deserved it."
He would have said more, but his companions told the newcomers how Askionov came to be in Siberia. How someone had killed a merchant and had put the knife among Askionov's things, and Askionov had been unjustly condemned. When Makar Semyonich heard this, he looked at Askionov, slapped his own knee, and exclaimed, "Well, this is wonderful, really wonderful. But how old are you? You've grown, Grandad." The others asked him why he was so surprised, and where he had seen Askionov before. But Makar Semyonich did not reply. He only said, "It's wonderful that we should meet here, lads." These words made Askionov wonder whether this man knew who had killed the merchant. So he said, "Perhaps, Semyonich, you have heard of that affair, or maybe you have seen me before?"
"How could I help hearing? The world's full of rumors. But it's a long time ago, and I've forgotten what I heard."
"Perhaps you heard who killed the merchant?" asked Askionov.
Makar Semyonich laughed and replied, "It must have been him in whose bag the knife was found. If someone else had hid the knife there, he's not a thief till he's caught, as the saying is. How could anyone put a knife into your bag while it was under your head? It would surely have woke you up."
When Askionov heard these words, he felt sure this was the man who had killed the merchant. He rose and went away. All that night Askionov lay awake. He felt terribly unhappy, and all sorts of images rose in his mind. There was the image of his wife as she was when he parted from her to go to the fair. He saw her as if she were present, her face and her eyes before him. He heard her speak and laugh. Then he saw his children, quite little, as they were at that time, one with a little cloak on, another at his mother's breast. And then he remembered himself, as he used to be, young and merry. He remembered how he sat playing the guitar at the porch of the inn when he was arrested, and how free from care he had been. He saw in his mind the place where he was flogged, the executioner, and the people standing around, the claims, the convicts, all the 26 years of his prison life, and his premature old age. The thought of it all made him so wretched that he was ready to end himself. And it's all that villain's doing, thought Askianov, and his anger was so great against Makar Semyonich that he longed for vengeance, even if he himself should perish for it. He kept repeating prayers all night, but could get no peace. During the day, he did not go near Makar Semyonich, not even look at him. A fortnight passed in this way. Askianov could not sleep at night, and was so miserable that he did not know what to do. One night, as he was walking about the prison, he noticed some earth that came rolling out from under one of the shelves on which the prisoners slept. He stopped to see what it was. Suddenly, Makar Semyonich crept out from under the shelf and looked up at Askianov with a frightened face. Askianov tried to pass without looking at him, but Makar seized his hand and told him that he had dug a hole under the wall, getting rid of the earth by putting it into his high boots and emptying it out every day on the road when the prisoners were driven to their work. "Just you keep quiet, old man, and you shall get out too. If you blab, they'll flog the life out of me, but I will kill you first." Askianov trembled with anger as he looked at his enemy. He drew his hand away, saying, "I have no wish to escape, and you have no need to kill me. You killed me long ago. As to telling of you, I may do so or not, as God shall direct." Next day, when the convicts were led out to work, the convoy soldiers noticed that one or other of the prisoners emptied some earth out of his boots. The prison was searched and the tunnel found. The governor came and questioned all the prisoners to find out who had dug the hole. They all denied any knowledge of it. Those who knew would not betray Makar Semyonich, knowing he would be flogged almost to death. At last the governor turned to Askianov, whom he knew to be a just man, and said, "You are a truthful man. Tell me, before God, who dug the hole?" Makar Semyonich stood as if he were quite unconcerned, looking at the governor and not so much as glancing at Askianov. Askianov's lips and hands trembled, and for a long time he could not utter a word. He thought, "Why should I screen him who ruined my life? Let him pay for what I have suffered. But if I tell, they will probably flog the life out of him, and maybe I suspect him wrongly. And after all, what good would it be to me?" "Well, old man," repeated the governor, "tell me the truth. Who has been digging under the wall?" Askianov glanced at Makar Semyonich and said, "I cannot say, Your Honor. It is not God's will that I should tell. Do what you like with me. I am in your hands." However much the governor tried, Askianov would not say more, and so the matter had to be left. That night, when Askianov was lying on his bed and just beginning to doze, someone came quietly and sat down on his bed. He peered through the darkness and recognized Makar. "What do you want of me?" asked Askianov. "Why have you come here?" Makar Semyonich was silent, so Askianov sat up and said, "What do you want? Go away, or I will call the guard." Makar Semyonich bent close over Askianov and whispered, "Ivan Dmitrich, forgive me." "What for?" asked Askianov. "It was I who killed the merchant and hid the knife among your things. I meant to kill you too, but I heard a noise outside, so I hid the knife in your bag and escaped out of the window." Askianov was silent and did not know what to say. Makar Semyonich slid off the bed shelf and knelt upon the ground. "Ivan Dmitrich," said he, "forgive me. For the love of God, forgive me. I will confess that it was I who killed the merchant,
and you will be released and can go to your home." "It's easy for you to talk," said Askionov, "but I have suffered for you these 26 years. Where could I go to now? My wife is dead, and my children have forgotten me. I have nowhere to go." Makar Semyonovich did not rise, but beat his head on the floor. "Ivan Dmitrich, forgive me," he cried. "When they flogged me with the knot, it was not so hard to bear as it is to see you now. You had pity on me, and you did not tell. For Christ's sake, forgive me. Wretch that I am," and he began to sob. When Askionov heard him sobbing, he too began to weep. "God will forgive you," said he. "Maybe I am 100 times worse than you." And at these words his heart grew light, and longing for home left him. He no longer had any desire to leave the prison, but only hoped for his last hour to come. In spite of what Askionov had said, Makar Semyonovich confessed his guilt, but when the order for his release came, Askionov was already dead. Well, what an ending. What did you think of that, Classical Audiobooks TV family and friends? I'd really love to know. Please put your thoughts in the comments below. My main thought was very key in the story, and I've read this story a few times, obviously because I recorded it, but also I chose it because I'd read it and I was curious to know what other people would think. I have a Christian faith, and I know that Leo Tolstoy, as an author, he had a Christian faith. And please join me in the new podcast coming soon to this channel where we talk about these authors in depth. But Leo Tolstoy is very famous for his piece of works, War and Peace and Anna Karenina. I hope to bring those books to this channel at some point, but it's going to require the help of some digital technology to clone my voice, and it's a work in progress. So look forward to some of those heavy hitters that I've actually had to avoid because of time. Anyway, this short story was really, it has me feeling different feelings every time I listen to it or read it. And the main key point for me in this story was where Askionov, he's asked, he's told by Semyonovich that I was disturbed, otherwise I would have killed you all those years ago. And Askionov responds, "You did kill me. I've been dead all these years, really. You took my life from me." Wow. And then to have that moment where Semyonovich, because Askionov had the power to hurt him back, when he received forgiveness, was more piercing to him than any fight he could have had with Askionov physically or with words. So that act of forgiveness was so powerful. But introspectively, I wonder, what would I have done? How would I have felt? It's torturous. I'd really love for us to continue this conversation in this comment section below. Please let me know. Please give this video a like if you enjoyed it. That's going to let me know to bring more of these kinds of stories to you until such time I can really bring the heavy hitters from the public domain, which are just brilliant pieces of work. Look out for the podcast that's going to come soon. Not too soon. I'm only just getting back into this, as you can tell. But I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I've been on this platform for nearly a decade, and I'd really love your support to kind of take things to the next level with this channel. And I'm so thankful to all of you who've stuck by and waited for me to return. I'm back. I'm probably not going to upload too many books all at once because I do have a full-time job, but at least once a week you'll get a book from me. Thank you to those of you that have joined in the meantime, those of you that have been with me from the beginning, those of you that have joined along the way. You're all awesome. So that's it for this video. Again, don't forget to like, subscribe, share this book with anybody you think it might be entertaining too. Until next time, I'm Narrator Riah.